a joy that you have found us for this podcast. How exciting it is to think that this spiritual message is going out to people around this planet. Whether your life is working at a peak level or whether it can use some enhancement, have I got the message for you today. So get a piece of paper, get ready to take notes, call a friend, have them watch this podcast also. Then you too can have something to talk about and take it to a deeper level. So enjoy. Here we go. All right, so Pura Vita. Oh man, imagine if you could just have that Pura Vita. Vita. Yeah, my Spanish coach. I told you guys I don't have the Spanish thing yet. Pura Vita. You know, if you have that feeling, stop laughing at that. Anyway, imagine if you had that feeling. In the most difficult of times, and the challenging of times, if you were able to just step into that relaxed place when you're facing life's challenges, when the anxiety or whatever began to face you, you could step into that zone and just be relaxed and be able to be present with that and know that whatever's going on is taken care of. You know, this morning's message is about immortality, and Jesus and the crucifixion. Immortality is less than life was a lot about love, but here in the West, we really don't like to take a look at the death thing. You know, it's kind of like we push it behind, don't really want to have to deal with it until we have to deal with it. But the fact is, there are probably about 250,000 people who will lay down their bodies and their spirit will leave this world this year. And there's probably that many arriving. And so we don't want to really look at it, but the truth is it's constantly going on. It has always been going on. There's other cultures that tend to deal with it in a better way. They're willing to take a look at it. They're willing to embrace it and say, you know, this is part of life. We've got to be willing to celebrate the transition into this world as well as out of this world, and that it is not the end. You've got to be willing to be prepared, because I'll tell you, 75% of the people in the West will make their transition and die either in a convalescent home or a hospital. Now, I don't want to be too morbid here, but it is the message of the day, in a sense. You know, it's and I've seen people, you know, just go through all sorts of trauma around death. People have died from starvation to overindulgence. They have died in the womb, and they have died of old age. I have watched people go in absolute peace, and I've watched them kicking and screaming and fighting as they were doing in this world. And they hold on. You know, I once saw a news clip of a child protection service taking a child away from a mom that had burned and beaten her little girl. And as they were taking out, I still get chills thinking the little girl reaching over the shoulder of the protection agent saying, "Mama, Mama," reaching out for it, wanting to hold on to the hellish of what she knows. And what happens is people here in this world want to hold on, even if it has gotten hellish and horrible here at this point in life, they still want to hold on because they have not prepared to move on into the next dimension, into the next realm, which is just as natural. We're taken as care of moving on as we were moving into this world. There's as many people checking out of here as there are checking in. And when I can begin to realize and recognize that, you know, this life is preparing me to be able to move on with a greater sense of ease, that, you know, my destiny waits before me. Jesus, you know, on the cross said, "Eli, Eli, yamana shakapatani," which means, "Oh God, my God, for this was my destiny." Where the Christian churches often will say, "For this, you know, God, why have you forsaken me?" And there's this belief about being forsaken, which is a sense, hey, you know, Jesus lost, the enemy's won. But the truth is, in Aramaic, shakapatani means kept, means destiny. For this has been my destiny. And Jesus in that moment realized that, wow, this is it. For this, you know, I was doing good here. You know, I was the Christ expression here. But as I return into that absolute, into that undifferentiated, as I move into that spiritual dimension, all I have is so much more. It's like a bowl of water in the desert. All the qualities of the water is there, but you can't float a ship on it. You know, a fish can't swim and live in it. But as soon as it evaporates, it becomes part of the system that brings, you know, the rain. It becomes part of the ocean, the rivers, and all that. Well, Jesus, as he began to merge, he began to say, "This is my destiny." It's only as I have moved on that the Christ understanding will begin to be understood. Only as I move on is that Spirit able to live through millenniums. Only as I begin to move on and the story begins to ripple and the truth begins to establish itself, is there a greater power to that. He was ready. He had prepared himself. He maybe didn't really know what was there, but there was something in him that knew. And the other cultures prepared themselves to move on. You know, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it gives you a chant, a death chant on what to chant, you know, as you are making your transition so you can move with your eyes open, that it's not strange. It's not like it hasn't happened. You know, it happens. And let us be prepared for it, because death is a real tough thing to prepare for at the last minute. It's like, you know, it's going to happen, and now I wish I would have done my spiritual homework. You know, the Native Americans are the first people. First Nation. They have what they call their healing chant. When a child becomes of age, you know, they're sent out into the woods to have their vision quest, to connect with spirit. And in that place, they get a healing chant, or what has become known as a death chant, because it was given to them in times of challenge, in times of anxiety, in times of fear, in times of transition, in times of war. They go back to whatever it is that they say, and if they didn't get it in their vision quest, the grandfather gives it to them. You know, here you go, kid, you missed it. Let me give you one. You know, or they kill an animal, and all of a sudden the animal passes on a sense and a vibration, and they get their healing chant or their death chant, which is what connects them with that greater spirit, into that something that Jesus moved on into, that ray, that essence, that consciousness. It allows them to connect with the ancestors as opposed to the fear that is before them, and they use it all their life. You know, they're falling off a horse, they say, or whatever it is they say, and boom, and down they go, and they're okay. Or they face a grizzly bear, a big animal, and they say it, and there's no fear because they have got this healing chant. Or they eat poison in their body and it's burning, and they say it and they come through it. They don't give away their power to the experience. And if someday a venomous snake bites them, they're on the ground dying under a boulder, and the venom or the poison is immobilizing them, and their limbs are going numb and their lungs are filling, and they can still say their death chant and keep their eyes open and not give their power away to the fear that is out. They are able to follow, for they have prepared themselves. In the Hindu philosophy, if you can say God's name at the very end, good job. You know, Gandhi, the story, when he died, he said, Rama, Rama, Rama. He said of, which is God, God, God. Even Steve Jobs, if you read what his sister said, I don't know if we can put him in the same category as Gandhi. But it's interesting, she said his last 3 words, because, you know, he knew he was going. And he went, wow, wow, wow. You know? Well, someone asked Rama Maharishi, I fear death. What can you tell me to help me with this? He said, well, the question is, were you born? Because if you were born, then you'll die. But if you were never born, then you will never die. And life is immortal. We don't die to become immortal. We are immortal now. This is a stopping place where our awareness or our attention is. This is a place in which we have stopped on our way. It is a continuity of life, which is why it's so important to live from a high place, a place of integrity, a place of love, because what you're casting out there is the stream in which you get to move in life. There's this kid, Mike, who got punched in the stomach by an 8th grader, and it hurt. But worse than the hurt was the embarrassment, was the indignity, and it just got him. The next day, he was going to meet the 8th grade bully at the bike rack. He was going to show the 8th grade bully who was boss here. How could he dare embarrass him? He told his grandmother, Nana, about it. And well, Nana had a little talking with Mike. An hour lecture, he said, boy, she likes to talk. You know, I don't really remember what she said. The only thing I remember is good deeds bring back good deeds into your life, and bad deeds bring bad deeds back into your life. And I told her, baloney. I've been doing good deeds and I get punched. That doesn't make sense. 30 years later, fast forward, Nana is now living in an assisted living house, not doing that well. And Mike would go visit her every Tuesday night, local guy. And he said he remembers the last time he visited her and took her out to dinner. He'd take her out to dinner every Tuesday night. He remembers it very well. He said he goes there and he would find her sitting at the front door every time, dressed up as nicely as she could with what she had, her hands folded, just waiting. It was probably the highlight of her week. And he would take her to the same family restaurant, little place, cafe. And that night he had ordered pot roast for her. And they came and he started eating. He noticed Nana wasn't eating. And it dawned on him, oh, yeah, she needs it cut. So he moved his plate, cut it up for her, small pieces, pushed it back, and shakily, but she was able to eat it. And there was like a flash back 40 years. When Mike was a little kid at the table, how Grandma used to cut up his food and feed it to him. And it's like, I got it. Good deeds come back around. It was like in that flash, in that moment, there was an understanding. And what happened to the 8th grade bully? Well, he met the 9th grade bully. You know? This thing about immortality is that what you're putting out there is what you get to live in. It gets to be the current. It gets to be the vibration. It is the essence of your life. You know, Anita Morani, if you have read her book, Dying to Be Me, it's a new Hay House book. Wayne Dyer just put her on the map. She PBS. She is the one who is the most common out there these days of the near-death experience. She had dealt with cancer for 4 years. Her body was riddled with cancer. Finally, all of her organs shut down. She died. Her body was just exterior just filled with lacerations from internal wounds coming out. She was gone, done. And what she says is that as she moved out, she began to have this multi-level of awareness. She was aware of many different places at the same time. It was not linear. It was in that moment she realized there was more that she needed to do. She was told everything she needed to know would be known to do what it is she had to do. The love for her husband brought her back. And as she came back in the body and the organs began to function a little bit more and they began to function, the body began to work, and all of a sudden as she awoke and the body was healed and the lacerations in front of the doctor's eyes were sealing up, and in 2 weeks there was not one sign of cancer left in her physical body, completely gone. To this day, it is still not present anywhere. Asked, so, tell me about it. Like, what's there? You know, all this is documented. Doctors are searching. She said, it's difficult to find language to describe something that is beyond the 5 senses. You know, the 5 senses is how we structure our language. How do I describe what is beyond that? But what I know is that there was no beginning and there's no end. It's as if there is a door that is open and it has stayed open and that life has continued. And I want you to know, she says, that I am not afraid of dying. I am sure that my life will continue after this plane. But what I am now intently focused on is this now moment, is being present with where I am, because where I am in this moment right now is perfect and it has everything, and I am not concerned about tomorrow. I'm not concerned about an afterlife, and I'm not concerned what is next week or later, but right now in this moment is the fullness of everything. It is a perfect moment no matter what is going on if I can be present to it. Right. That is right. Sometimes it takes cancer for people to finally say, oh yeah, death really might happen. But that's our culture. We just don't want to look at it, right? Yeah, we'd rather talk about sex than death. I can understand that, but I just want us to eliminate that someday it's going to be better. You know, we're told in Luke that Jesus said, all that I have is yours. All that I have is thine, is what they say, but he didn't really. All that I have is yours, is what he was saying. He didn't say someday you get it. No, that's right. All that I have is yours. Right here, right now. Today you shall be with me in paradise, is what he said to the thieves on the cross. Today you shall be with me in paradise. Today is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice, and I'll be glad in it. Today is the day. You don't want to mortgage your future, or you don't want to mortgage your present moment for a future that may or may not come and you don't know what it's like. Let me know right now that fully present in this moment is everything that I could have, I want, or it's perfect for me to bring forth myself. Stop wishing I was somewhere else. See, immortality stuff helps us be present now in this moment and love this moment. I got to tell you how often or how long I wanted to be, the best minister, the best teacher there ever was, the best writer that ever was. And I finally got it. That position has already been taken, Jesus preached some mean sermons, but we're still talking about them 2,000 years later. Talking about teaching, he can do a seminar on how to walk on water and change water into wine. Do you think I could outmarket that concept? So what I've come to recognize here is what I really want is to be the best that I can be at those things. That's all I want. That's all that I can be. And I've got to trust the moment I am, and in this unfoldment, in this continuity of life, in this immortality, in this loving expression that I've been given all that's necessary for this point in my life and in my world. I've been given all that I need. I just got to be fully present in this moment. I got to roll away the stone from the tomb, outside the tomb, and step out and rise to my potential and be willing to go for it. But what happens is so often people jump out wanting to be the star right away. If you want to be great at business and you're looking at Trump and saying, oh, boy, he's got his own TV show, he's got his own high rises, this guy's got his own plane. I'm going to do that. Well, you got to remember that he also started and stumbled and bankrupted his way to that level. There's a matter of becoming. So often the vision becomes so heavy rather than inspiring, it weighs us down. Of course I want to be able to write like a Hemingway and a Steinbeck, but what I got to do is start where I am. That is how it's got to be, and I got to be willing to be a little awkward and awful and inept in the process and have that be okay. And my ego goes, no, it's not. I just don't want you to be like that. And what happens if you're not willing to be awkward, awful, and inept? You will remain awkward, awful, and inept because you'll never move through it. We're always looking for a way out of the way through. Oh, that's good. No one got that yet today. I like that. This journey that we are on is what makes you. Jesus didn't come into this world, ta-da, I'm the guy. He had to be crucified before the awareness of his Christ expression was known. The hero has to go on the hero's journey before he becomes the hero. But it's those challenges in life that have you dig down and have your awareness and your attention begin to look for something more for Spirit to hit and to manifest. And those challenges and those difficulties that will enrage you and anger you and engage you will just spin you out of your present tomb or your dimension or your body of being into the infinite realm, and you can never return to the smallness that you once were. You can never fit back into the tomb that you were once residing in. This message today is about the ascension. It's about moving beyond where it is you were in your life. You've got to be willing to do that and let go of that which is holding you back. And one of the stories I love about Trevor, we used to go down to the beach, and I would carry him on my shoulders. It was so fun. I was the proud dad, brought my son down, and we would walk, and I'd put him down, and he would walk along the beach. And we would throw rocks together. We'd skip rocks. And along the way, he'd find rocks that he liked. He liked the color of this one, so in his pocket that would go. He liked the shape of that one, and he liked that piece one. And all of a sudden, his pockets were bulging. And I'd be looking, Trevor's not around. And he's behind me, just kind of waddling, with his pants below his butt, Very trendy. I didn't realize that at the time, but he was ahead of his time. And I'd go back and say, Trev, what's up here? And he'd just reach up his hands and say, carry me. I can't help but to think, like Spirit, we do that. We take on the rocks of the pain, or the anguish, or the betrayal, or the disgust, or the grief, or the anger, or the resentment, or whatever it is. And we begin to get way down, and finally turn to God and say, carry me. Spirit saying, empty those pockets, man. Let go of those rocks and those boulders. Let it go. Life isn't meant to be difficult. You are not meant to have forgotten who you are. Because who you are is magnificent. And the pain or the resentment or jealousy or fear or any of those rocks you put in your pocket are only because you've forgotten how great you are. You've forgotten the magnificence of your being. Anita Morani said that's what she came to realize is the problem, is that people have forgotten their magnificence. They have forgotten that they are loved, that they are perfect, and that whatever they are going through is perfect for them. But what happens is rather than going through it with our eyes open, we want to, circumvent the journey. We numb it, we disappear, we don't pay attention. Just because you're sick, we think, well, that's not okay. Who says the sickness or the challenges is an opportunity for you to be present, to experience God in a way in which you have never experienced, even if it's through death. If you have got your ducks in order and you got your death chant or your blessed chant, oh God, this is great, I am thankful, I'm graceful, I'm living in grace, this is right, this is beautiful, all of a sudden you're able to journey through those times without thinking, oh, this is wrong. I'm able to open my eyes and see. And you will rise triumphant. That reading, part of that reading Christina was doing, that came from Ernest Holmes. I just want to reiterate it. It's on page 369 for any of you textbook-toting metaphysicians. And Ernest loved Jesus. He has a whole chapter on the Christ consciousness, a chapter on the teachings of Jesus, has a chapter on immortality. This death stuff was not something he put behind and said, I'm not looking at it. It's just as natural as birth and life. We've got to be comfortable with it. Because if you're not preparing until the very end, it's like all of a sudden you're looking through that portal to the other side, and you have got these blaring speakers, stadium speakers, this cacophony of sounds just going at you. You say, oh, I'm at peace, I'm at peace, I'm at peace. You haven't been there. If you did it when you fell off your horse, if you did it when you had the challenge financially, if you did it when you went through the separation, all of a sudden if you use this healing to connect you with that life force and know that the ancestors or that life force is blessing me, I'm able to keep my eyes open and guide myself in this time of challenge. This transition, this death is not unnatural in any aspect of our life. We are constantly dying to one thing and being born to another. And if I can remember my chant, and I've given Trevor his every night. I realize for the last 10 years, every night I say, God blesses and watches over you. The ancestors guide you, guard you, protect you, and assist you to live your God purpose and passion in a world filled with joy, happiness, love, peace, gratitude, friendship, laughter, perfect health, abundance, and perfect speech. And he just recites that. It's like his. He's got it. He can't even say that many words in a row with anything, but he's got that down. If you've got it, you can meet the challenges that you're facing with your eyes open without disappearing, being fully conscious of what is going on. I just want to reiterate what Christina said. She said, the Christ knows that his individuality is indestructible. Right? The Christ. No, not the man Jesus. We saw that body go. Okay? The man Jesus exemplified a level of awareness that we call the Christ consciousness. He was a man who demonstrated at a very high level and said, what I can do, you can do too. He never walked on the moon that I know of. He's an example of the possible human. It is the consciousness he exemplified. And so when we talk about the Christ knows that the individuality is indestructible, that he is an eternal being living forever in the bosom of the Father. The Christ triumphs over death and the grave, breaking through the tomb of human limitation into the dawn of eternal expression. The Christ rises from the ashes of human hopes, pointing the way to a greater realization of life. The Christ is always triumphant. It is ever the victor. It is never defeated. It needs no champion. The Christ places its hands in the outstretched hand of the universe and walks unafraid through life. Outstretched hands of the universe. That's what we need. More people walking unafraid. We don't need more food, gas, oil, water. What we need are less people with greed. We need less ignorance, less exploitation, less consumerism. What we need is more understanding. What we need is more love. What we need is a greater Christ expression in this world. What we need is more caring. What we need is more arms outstretched. What we need are more individuals present in the moment. What we need is a trust in this universe that is providing and taking care of everything in the moment in which we stand as a race, as a culture, as a species, as an individual, is a moment that everything is present for us. And if I am fully present in this moment, everything that is necessary to be an expression of that life begins to be known. Yeah. And if you're unaware of it, passes you by. I just imagine the priests after they crucified Jesus, the ecclesiastical corps, sitting around looking at each other. Hey, pretty good. Good job. Got rid of this guy from the north. It really wasn't that big of a hassle, but it was something. Matter of fact, it wasn't that big of a hassle. He didn't even really resist. He didn't actually even say anything on his behalf. In fact, he didn't carry his cross himself. People spat him, hit him, whipped him. It was like a lamb going to the slaughter. And all of a sudden, the shift starts happening. In drama, the clouds are dark and the thunder is going and the earth is splitting, So there's something going on. It's like there's a realization that starts to come. It's like, maybe he is that guy Isaiah was talking about. Maybe he was the one. And all of a sudden, as the realization begins to be known, there's boom. It's like the consciousness hits it. You begin to see, you begin to know in a new way. It's as one becomes aware, it's like this life force moves there. If you're unaware, you don't know. I can walk into a room when Trevor is playing and he's focused in on someone and say, hey, Trevor, how's it going? Zero response. So I sneak up and go, ah! He doesn't move because he didn't hear me. He wasn't ignoring me. I finally figured this out. It wasn't really personal. He is just so focused in what he is doing. He's got ears that hear, eyes that see, but he wasn't there. His attention wasn't there. It was somewhere else. Have you ever been reading a book and somebody talks to you and you just don't even hear what they're saying? It's not like you're incapable of hearing them. It's just your attention is somewhere else. So a flashlight. Take a flashlight and you shine it off into space. And the light goes up, the light disappears, you don't see it, it's out there. But if all of a sudden a bird comes in front of it, or a bat, or it hits a tree, you see what that light is touching. All of a sudden, the light touches the bat, and you see the bat, and the light touches the bird. The sun that is shining its light and its fullness is through, looks like the dark heavens out there, and yet that light is bright, and you can only see it, though, when it touches the moon or the earth. Right? It's out there, it's always shining, but you only see it when it touches something. And so where I'm trying to go with this, and I'm trying to explain it, is that the consciousness, this divine essence, this life force, is like that light. It is like the sun. It is that beam that is shining, that is moving, and it can only touch down when there is an attention brought, and when the attention is there, the consciousness goes there. And so what I am trying to say here is without you to experience love, without you to experience the joy, this undifferentiated something can't experience. Until it is separated, it is unable to feel the love. What I am attempting to say here is that without you, God, or this life, or this essence, or this thing could not know or experience love. It could just be infinite possibilities. Who exemplified a level of awareness and said, what I can do, you can do too. We're looking at Jesus as an example for all of us. And when we talk about the Christ, we're talking about a level of awareness, level of consciousness that is merged back up into that whole. The Christ knows that his individuality is indestructible. The Christ rises from the ashes of human hopes, pointing the way to a greater realization of life. The Christ is always triumphant. It is ever the victor. It is never defeated, and it needs no champion. The Christ places its hand in the outstretched hand of the universe and walks unafraid through life. What we need are more people remembering their magnificence. And when you're willing to let go of the fear of death and recognize that I am immortal, we don't need more food on this planet, more water on this planet, more energy or more gas or oil. What we need is less greed, less exploitation, less ignorance, more understanding, more love, more caring, more compassion, more reaching out, more understanding of our brothers and sisters that are around this planet that come from that same life force. And when the awareness comes, boom, it becomes the place where the Christ is known. Imagine those priests, the ecclesiastical class that just put Jesus to death on the cross. They're sitting there thinking, oh my, didn't we do good? Yeah, all right. We took care of it. And then, the clouds start getting dark and the thunder and the ground splits and all that drama. And they started looking at each other. Well, he didn't put up any resistance, Matter of fact, he didn't even say anything about this whole thing. He actually carried his own cross. It's like a lamb being led to the slaughter. It kind of exemplifies that guy in Isaiah he was talking about. And all of a sudden, that awareness comes into their field, and boom, there's a feeling, there's a sense. And so, have you ever been like reading a book, so engrossed, like Callie, she's reading a book, I'll come in and say, hey, hon, say something. She doesn't hear me. It's like, it's not that she's ignoring me. It's like her awareness wasn't there. Once I get her attention, it's like, boom, there she is. It's not as if she didn't have ears. And Trevor's great at this. He's not that he's ignoring me. He just is totally engaged in what it is that he's doing. That is where his awareness is. And so I say, hey, Trev, or I try to spook him, and he doesn't even jump because he's not aware of what is going on. I'm going with this analogy. I'm trying to get better than I did at sunrise. But, I was talking about putting the flashlight that is out there, and you see the flashlight go off into the sky. You can't really through the light, or a bat, or hits a tree. Boom. Becomes aware of what is there. You see it. That awareness all of a sudden just touches that. The light from the sun is just an emanation that is moving through the black void of outer space. You can't see it until it touches like the moon, which was gorgeous this morning. Did you see that? Or it hits a planet, and then you see it. But otherwise, it is there. And it's almost as if there is a consciousness that is flowing through this thing called life that is just moving, and it's unknown, unexperienced until it touches an object of awareness, and that is what we get to do. We are the ones who get to choose to be aware, and what is happening is this infinite expression begins to, boom, touch that planet, touches your field of concern, your healing chant. And all of a sudden it moves into that place. Otherwise there is this force, there's this light, there's this energy, there's this spirit that Christ returned to that is moving through it all, and it is our awareness that brings it into focus. It's not that I wasn't in the room and Callie didn't hear me. It's not as if the things were flying in the sky. It was just until the light touches something, it is not seen, and it is our awareness. If we choose to notice the pain in our back, that's what we're aware of, and that's where our consciousness is. If we're aware that we're struggling in a rough economy, that is where the consciousness goes, and that is where the creation happens. If we are aware that I am a loving expression of the divine, that is where this consciousness goes. If I am aware of the pain in my knee, then I am my body, and what happens is I think I am the body. I think that I am this form, when the truth is I am that light. I am the consciousness, but I am now identifying with that which I have become aware of. Did it make more sense this time? Better? Okay. A little bit. And so, we recognize that what we're about here is to bring about love. And if I all of a sudden begin to recognize that this differentiated light, this essence, needs to become a love and that divine vibration, that place of kindness and compassion, and it moves there, you're needed for it to have that bounce back. You're needed for it to be expressed. What would happen if this was actually the big game? This planet, this earth was what people were lining up for, and so they could experience what they couldn't experience when they were not separated from the one. When that one is infinite potential, it needs to separate so it can experience the love. Jesus walked this planet saying, no matter what, love your neighbor. No matter what, resolve the conflict. No matter what, love, 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 love. And when you can be that place of love and let go of the fear, then all of a sudden you realize my mission here is to remind people that you're great inside. The truth of who you are is magnificent, and now is the moment. Now is the appointed time. Now you are in paradise. Not someday you're in paradise. Now you are in paradise. And what I get to do, no matter what is going on in this moment, is open up to the possibility of love, no matter what it looks like. One of my favorite stories I've shared with you guys before is about this great man who married the woman of his dreams, and their love created a beautiful little girl who was cheerful, loved to sing and smile and dance and laugh, and the great man would hold her in the arms and dance and say, I love you, little girl. I love you, little girl. And as the little girl grew, the great man would say, I love you, little girl. The little girl would say, I'm not a little girl anymore. And he would laugh and say, but you'll always be my little girl. Well, when this little girl, who was not so little anymore, left home and then began to learn more about herself, she discovered also how great the man was in his ability to share and to express that love. He would call her no matter where she was in this world or in her life from time to time, just say, "I love you, little girl." One day she got the call. It was someone who said that this great man, his body had been damaged. He had had a stroke. And that he's lying in the hospital. He can't move any of his limbs. He can't speak. We don't even know if he can understand. Definitely, he can't speak the words you want to hear, can't sing, can't dance. And so she went, and when she walked into the hospital room, she saw not the strong body, but a weak, small body. And she could see his lips just trying to say something. She did all that she knew what she could do. She crawled into bed with him and looked at him, and her eyes filled with tears, and his eyes filled with tears. And she put her arms around his useless shoulders and just held her father in her arms. And he put her head on his chest and just rested. And she remembered. She remembered the love. She remembered the good times. She remembered him holding him in the arms and dancing and saying, "I love you, little girl." She remembered how he protected her, how he cherished her, how he just looked at her. And she heard his heart beat. And that's when the magic happened. For it was in the heart. This is where the words came from, where the music came from. And she laid there. She heard his heart beat. "I love you. I love you. I love you, little girl, little girl, little girl." I want us to understand that no matter where we are, there's no need to wish we were somewhere else. For those that have been there and back, said all that matters is now. It's perfect. And if you can hear life and the universe and all that is around you saying, "I love you. I love you. I love you." Today, you'll be in paradise. God bless you. Happy Easter. Again, with a lot of heart and soul and passion. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Hey, I trust you enjoyed that podcast. It was very exciting to be able to create that and to know that there are people like you all around the world that are observing and integrating these spiritual principles into their life. And so if you enjoyed it, what I'd like to do is encourage you to tell a friend or bring several friends together and watch another one of these podcasts. And then afterwards, take some time to talk about the spiritual principles, to talk about the stories and what significance they have and relevance they have in your life. What then happens is it moves to a deeper and deeper level in your world. It becomes real and assists you to create the freedom in your life that your heart and soul so desire. So if you like this, I encourage you to watch it again, but also tune into our website here at seasidecenter.org. There, you can get some of my written material and take a look at it. You can read some of my spiritual prayers. You can even go to our online bookstore and order some of the books. And if you're so moved, what I greatly would appreciate is your financial support, which you could do online at seasidecenter.org. It is support like yours that assists us to be able to continue to do these kinds of gifts for humanity and send it out to the world. Because you know what? We are making a difference with this spiritual message. And because of support like yours, people are being touched in the farthest reaches of this planet, as well as our backyard, more than we could ever begin to realize. So I thank you from the fullness of my heart for making a difference.